Brought to you by
NJM.
Recently, Steve sat down with Ryan Haygood, President and CEO of the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, about some of the top issues affecting Newark residents today and about how New Jersey has the potential to become a national model in employment reform. Here now is that conversation.
Back by popular demand, we have him. He is Ryan Haygood, President and CEO of New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. How you doing, buddy?
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me, Steve.
A lot of new things happening. Talk about this initiative called New Jersey Communities Forward. What is it?
So New Jersey Communities Forward is an initiative of the Institute for Social Justice that really was inspired by what we've seen happen across the country with respect to the police and law enforcement relationship over the last couple of years. Some of these heartbreaking shootings we've seen of unarmed African Americans in particular, and it really was something that we saw as a cautionary tale for us here in New Jersey. We looked at what we saw happening in Baltimore, Ferguson, more recently in Baton Rouge, and in Minnesota, and we thought about how we could use what's happening in other cities as a cautionary tale for us here in New Jersey. So New Jersey Communities Forward concretely is an initiative where we have very difficult conversations in a safe space with law enforcement, high-level law enforcement, and community leaders about how we reimagine the relationship between law enforcement and communities.
Ryan, let me ask you this, because you and I, right before we got on the air, I said to you that we've been thinking about doing the same sort of thing, only from a broadcast perspective. The events, and again, we're doing this program late in the summer of 2016, and we pray that what we talk about is not dated and there's nothing else that happens, but who knows? Dallas.
Yep.
How does that change? The police being targeted by some who want to do them harm. How does it change the conversation? And killed in some cases.
Absolutely. I think, to your point, Steve, what we've seen happen across the country in Dallas most recently with respect to the awful killings of law enforcement officials who were doing their job there.
And protecting those protesters.
Sure. I think what that provides for us is a meaningful opportunity to use what we're seeing there as a cautionary tale for how we can build something here. The reality is, in many communities across the country, we can't really reference a golden era where the relationship between law enforcement and communities was solid. So as you know, this is the 49th anniversary year of the Newark Rebellion, which was sparked by law enforcement abuse of John Smith, who was a cab driver, right? And I think what folks in Newark in particular have been waiting for in the last 49 years is a way to have a conversation about how we reimagine the relationship anew between law enforcement and community leaders. And so what we've seen—
excuse me, Ryan.
Sure.
The federal government is, in fact,
absolutely,
through the Department of Justice, overseeing the City of Newark Police Department, and there is, in fact, someone overseeing that police department on behalf of the federal government.
That's right. And so as a result of the last sort of 49 years of a strained relationship between law enforcement and community, the city entered into a consent decree with the Department of Justice to really transform the Newark Police Department. There's a federal monitor, Peter Harvey,
former Attorney General,
who's overseeing this transformation, and the Institute is a part of that team that's working to ensure that that transformation happens. And here, I think, for us, there's an opportunity in Newark, in Camden, in Irvington, in Atlantic City, in Trenton, to reimagine the way that policing happens, where we do it from an opportunity perspective. So we think about, in New Jersey Communities Forward, how to have hard conversations about what it means to create a law enforcement department that really serves the community. So instead of being armed patrolmen, being more like community organizers, so that de-escalation is the guide, community investment is the guide, and as a last resort, we talk about using force. But as an initial matter, reimagining police as community organizers who ideally live in the community or are deeply invested in the community in some other way, and who begin to advocate for the empowerment of the community with citizens who live there. And I think for us, that's what this moment presents.
Ryan, sorry for interrupting. Can we do it? Because I've seen some of the broadcast networks try this, and every time I've seen it, it breaks down in a bunch of screaming and yelling and not listening. Can we listen to each other?
Absolutely. So I think, to your point, what we've seen a lot on network television, what we've seen a lot on social media, Facebook and Twitter, is a very polarized
not listening, talking
America,
past each other.
right? So there's this idea that you can only be in the Black Lives Matter camp or the Blue Lives Matter. But here's the reality. Following the recent shootings we've seen that are heartbreaking, we know that we have enough space in our heart to be proponents of Black Lives Matter and to support the police who are doing their jobs. So we don't have to be divided in these camps where you're either this or you're this. There's space in the middle because in the communities we're seeing that residents of our urban communities in particular want to live in safe communities. They want to be empowered in those communities, and they want to work with law enforcement to ensure that those communities are empowered. So it's not an either-or proposition.
That's
a
lose-lose.
That's the conversation that we
That's a lose-lose.
Absolutely, absolutely, because what we need to do is recognize the reality in which Black lives matter. And the reason why we need to focus on that, the focus on Black Lives Matter, is because we've seen in many of these shootings across the country that that's still in question. And that is a reality that we've been having this conversation really since Black folks came to the country. Sojourner Truth asked this in the midst of slavery, am I a woman? In the 1960s, Black sanitation workers in Tennessee pronounced that I am a man. And more recently, young folks in particular are leading a movement to answer the question that has been posed really from the beginning of time, from the time that Black folks came to America, that Black lives matter. But that's not an exclusive focus. That's to affirm a reality. But it doesn't also mean that law enforcement shouldn't be empowered to join with communities and do their work as well.
And police need to be able to articulate and be honest about the fact that some of them feel that they are being targeted and their job is virtually impossible. Some of them feel. Now, some of them don't want to articulate that.
Sure.
Some of them are uncomfortable saying that because it implies certain things about what they may or may not be willing to do their job they've been sworn to uphold.
Sure.
I mean,
well, one of the things we've seen in New Jersey Communities Forward, we have these conversations, high-level law enforcement, community leaders, and one of the things we agree on is that police officers are often asked to do much more than is reasonably required. So they're doing social service, they're performing services to administer a number of needed things that other agencies are better
but if no one else is doing it.
And so part of what we need to do is to create systems where law enforcement are empowered to help increase safety and empower communities, but also join with social service agencies to provide other things that police can't provide.
Right, before I let you out of here, do me a favor, talk about some of the economic jobs initiatives. Go ahead.
So you really can't talk about community safety without talking, we talked about this last year, without talking about economic empowerment. So one of the things that the Institute is doing later this fall is launching an economic mobility campaign that really has at its heart connecting local residents to work. So in the city of Newark, local residents hold just 18% of all the jobs in the city, which means that 82% of those who work here in every industry, from the corporate community to the hospital community, to the manufacturing community, to the Newark port, to the Newark airport, 82% of those who are employed in the city don't live in the city.
Doesn't make sense.
And the majority of jobs in the city pay more than $40,000.
Doesn't make sense.
But local residents have just 10% of those jobs paying $40,000. So part of our charge is to create a pipeline, a blueprint that seeks to connect local residents to work in a way that drives down the unemployment gap between the city of Newark, one of the poorer cities in the state, and the state of New Jersey, one of the wealthiest states in America. And that's achievable. And we're starting with an anchor institution strategy where our anchor institutions begin by thinking about how they contribute to driving down unemployment by empowering local residents with the skills they need to compete for the jobs and ultimately the jobs themselves. And this is deeply interconnected.
You're hopeful.
To the criminal justice reform.
You're hopeful.
Absolutely. If we're not hopeful now, we really can't be hopeful ever. I think New Jersey, more than many other states, has an opportunity to lead in the area of criminal justice reform, in the area of economic employment, and in the area of civic engagement. And that's what the Institute for Social Justice is focusing on.
Civic engagement, 30 seconds on that.
Absolutely. So civic engagement, you really can't empower a healthy urban community without advancing a democracy inclusion principle. That is to say, helping urban residents understand why voting is important, helping them to achieve greater access to the ballot box, and helping them to ensure that the folks they elect are accountable to agendas they create.
Getting people to vote is key, right?
Absolutely. We're seeing this now. This is going to be one of the most contested presidential elections in recent history, if not in American history.
And when people see this after the election is the gubernatorial race in 2017.
That's right. And what we're seeing in the 2016 election is a primer for what we'll see in the 2017 gubernatorial election. There's a lot on line.
Ryan Haygood, President and CEO, New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, an organization making a huge difference.
Thanks for having me on the show, Steve.
My name is Carly Lloyd, and I have been with NJM since I first started driving. I'm a World Cup champion and two-time Olympic gold medalist. If I could sum up NJM in one word, it would be extraordinary.
Extraordinary means being the best at something. separating yourself from everybody else.
I love being a part of NJM. They have the best insurance out there.
Join NJM's family of policyholders today. Get a quote now at startyournjm.com.
Also brought to you by Summit Medical Group, New Jersey Council of County Colleges, and by the New Jersey Education Association.